if you haven't picked up on this part yet, basically what we're doing is reverse engineering the dead bug. And a lot of times this is also helpful when people are trying to learn how to do, scissors and leg lowering and different things like that when they're doing abdominal work. So if you put your legs up here and you're closing down the space in the front of the hip, it actually makes it a lot harder to pull in that transverse abdominus properly. And so if people are doing leg lowering, what you'll find, that's when you really start to see that lifting up through the abdomen and that lower back lifting up off the floor. Even if they're trying to keep the back down, the belly's going to be lifting up. So if you've ever had that experience, then you're going to be able to do that properly as you build strength through this process. Now, going straight to dead bug in rehab is what people typically do, but you can see that this is often too difficult in the beginning for people, especially when they haven't had any transverse abdominis engagement. So what we're going to do first, before we even get to that step, is now bringing one leg to tabletop, not the two legs, because at first, just like when we were lifting up the leg, we want to break it down so that we can successfully maintain that engagement, build that endurance in this new positioning. So in the beginning, we're just going to do 10 reps on the right side. So instead of lifting the knee up, we're just going to come out and bring it down and come back to here. So, and then we'll do 10 on the left. And so if you want to do a second set, then you do, again, 10 on the right, 10 on the left. This particular level is not going to take as long because you've done so much work with the previous level where both feet were on the ground, you were straightening out the knee from here. So maybe, 2 or 3 weeks or so, if you're doing it consistently, then you should be able to progress to the two legs and then going from here. You'll spend quite a bit more time at that level, but you can slowly start to add in then the alternating arms and hands as is typically prescribed with the dead bug. All right, so let's get our right leg to tabletop. We're going to make sure that we have primarily our transverse abdominis engagement and our quad is not going to be doing all the work. I like to put my hands, along my side here. It just helps you to keep even better shoulder girdle stabilization. If you need to keep your hands in the front of your pelvis still as a cue, feel free to do so. Let's take a nice deep breath in. As we let that breath out, let your rib cage translate down towards your pelvis. Engage those 2 points, belly button to pubic bone, lower back is neutral, although you really need to make sure now that your lower back is not going to start lifting off the floor. So you really want to feel those lower back muscles touching, but you're not rocking your pelvis back. You're not smashing that back into the floor, okay? All right, so let's reset. Take a breath in. Translate the rib cage down. Transverse abdominis is nice and engaged. And now we're going to press through the heel, almost like a bicycle motion, and you're going to bring it down towards the floor. I want you to try to keep that quadricep relatively relaxed relative to this transverse abdominis engagement. I don't want your quad doing more work than this. If you need to reset your engagement between each rep, feel free. It's 3. Again, slow and controlled. So make sure you really know what you're doing. You really can feel that your transverse abdominis is engaged properly. You're not overusing that quad. 6. If you can't go all the way in the beginning, that's okay. Just go as far as you can control. 7. 8. 9. And 10. what you may start to feel over time is that your glute and your hamstring will engage as part of the process. And that is something we do want, because we want to have better pattern activation of our transverse abdominis with our glute and our hamstring. It's often a connection that gets lost. All right, so let's bring our left side up. Take a breath in. Set our engagement. Press through the heel. Keep the leg as relaxed as you can. You want to feel most of the engagement at the transverse abdominis, not in the quad. Only go as far as you can control. What can be helpful too is if you start thinking about it, your shoulders may start rolling up. You want to pull those shoulder blades, pin them down to the floor, because your other area of core muscles, your middle and lower trapezius, and other shoulder girdle stabilizers, if you can engage those, it's actually going to help you have a better experience. Because really these things never truly activate in isolation. They function as a system. And although we're hyper-focusing right now on a particular area, this is serving a purpose so that we can gain some control over this area, so that we can then build complexity in that pattern activation and be able to stabilize our body as a system over time. Okay, so if you want to do another set, have at it. And then we would progress onto double tabletops.